A new crafting tool, something a little different and pretty. Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for Bland Designs, and welcome to my weekly vlog number 154 for February the 10th, 2020. And let's get right into things. You can see behind me another quilt I just finished. This one is called A Quilt As You Go. And what makes this different from other quilts is that, first of all, it's made from scraps. So it looks like there might be a pattern in this, but there really isn't a pattern in it. It's just random. And what you do is you make each square individually as if it was a little mini quilt. And what I mean by that is you sandwich it as you would a full-size regular quilt. You have your backing fabric, you have your batting between that and your top fabric, the top here, for example. And it's quilt as you go because these strips of fabric are sewn on individually. So you start in the middle and then you take another scrap and just put it over top of that, leaving a 1/4 inch seam allowance until you have filled the square. And then that's done. And on the back, what you will have, and you're not going to be able to see this very well, if at all, but basically there are lines of quilting all down throughout each square because of your sewing it here. Now, it was originally called apartment quilting, and I'm just pulling up my microphone cord here because it kind of fell on the floor. It was originally called apartment quilt or apartment quilting because people lived in small spaces, couldn't really quilt comfortably a full-size quilt. So this was a way to use your domestic machine to quilt something in a small space. The sashing on this, that's these pieces in between, was kind of tricky. Because you're basically they're what hold the squares together. And I have to say that the person who was doing the instruction for this in the class, she's very, very good. Very, very talented quilt person and a very good teacher. But my brain could not get around the method she was showing us for doing this. So I looked on YouTube and found a Leah Day video on how she does it. And her method, which was very similar to the instructor's method, I just understood for some reason better. So that's what I did. I did have intentions of, after finishing this quilt, of actually quilting it again in a more detailed design. But then after I got it finished, I was kind of tired of it. So I just left it as is. I think it turned out pretty good. But would I make another one? I don't think so. I didn't really like this technique. I found it somewhat tedious, boring, and I really got frustrated with putting that sashing on. Now, eventually when I did figure it out, it went on okay, but it in itself is kind of, well, they often call this kind of quilt a beginner's quilt. I don't think it's really a beginner's quilt. I mean, if I had done this as my very first quilt, not knowing what I know today, I don't think I'd be a quilter. I really don't. It's not as easy as it might sound. And with the complication of putting that sashing on, it just, now maybe it was me. It was me. For some reason, I couldn't get my head around that method that I was taught first. And until I saw the Leah Day video, then I got it. But anyways, it's done. And I'm taking it off to Guild tonight to show and share it. We have these sessions called Show and Share, where we show our latest projects. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to take my Tim Holtz quilt as well. That's the one I showed you a few weeks ago that I've made for a friend of mine. I'm going to take that as well to show. And I've also made one other thing. Now, there's a little story behind this. I like to switch out. I make my mother these banners that are hung on her wardrobe doors. Now, her wardrobe is not very big in the nursing home. And I took some measurements because the last couple that I've made didn't fit quite well on the door. So I've taken measurements now, and I know that I can get away with something that's a foot wide and about 48 inches long. And so I've made one right now for this to swap them out seasonally. My original plan was I was going to make these banners more springtime, and then I'll make some for summer, then some for fall, and then I've got some already made. I might make some more for, the Christmas season, that kind of thing, and just swap them out every so many months, just to, add some color and brighten up my mother's room, kind of a thing. So I made this, and I should have hung it up, but you see there's 4 stars. This is a very simple type of pattern, made up of what are called flying geese. And from last week's discussion, I'm doing a quilt right now that's all flying geese, so I've gotten pretty proficient in making flying geese. And I did a little bit of embroidery in the center. I did this little butterfly, and it's the same one in each panel, except one of these things doesn't belong. Can you spot which one is a little different? If you can't, good. If you did, then you know it's this one. It's off from the other ones. Now I'll tell you why. This is not the original block. This is 4 blocks. And when I got it all done, I had a little problem when I put the butterfly in here with the first block. I got some things screwed up, and well, it stood out a little bit more like a sore thumb. But not only that, I realized that I had gotten one of these pieces backwards, and I hadn't noticed that until I got it all the sashing on, the borders on. Now I hadn't put the backing on, which was a good thing. This was all made from scraps of fabric, and I thought, well, what the heck? I'll put it on my wall of shame. I have a sort of a wall of shame. It's actually my design wall, but I use it more for hanging projects that aren't finished yet, or little notes to myself about projects, or in some cases just things that didn't work out but I didn't really want to throw them out. So I hung it up there. But then it kept bothering me, and I thought, no, I can fix this. So I started ripping it out, which meant taking off the bottom border, or the bottom border down here, and these 2 borders on either side. I'm sorry if I've hit my microphone and given you some bad feedback. And I worked my way up to the wrong block. I pulled it out, and I started to take out this piece, and I was going to flip it over, but it just got too complicated, and I kept sewing it on the wrong way. Like, duh. So what I ended up doing was making a brand new block, and I put that in instead. Now that gave me an opportunity to do the embroidery the right way, you'd think. But for some reason, I got it flipped around. It's subtle, but it's there. But you want to know something? I had somebody tell me when I first started quilting that a quilt has to have a mistake in it, because only God is perfect. Therefore, your quilt has to have, they often refer to it as the humble block, I think it is, or modesty block, something like that. I think it comes from the Mennonite or the Amish or something like that. Anyways, that's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. And this is the backing. And it was just some more leftover fabric, and it was the right size, and it fit right there. I didn't do a binding around the edges. This is a blanket style of backing, where you basically put it on inside out and then pull it through like you would if you were making a pillow cover or something like that. There is one last step in this. I have to quilt it, and all I'm going to do is walking foot quilting, and I'm just going to go straight down and across. I'll have to skip over the embroidery in wavy lines, and probably in a very light purpley mauvey lavender color. Maybe I'll use a variegated. I'm not sure yet for that. So that I'm going to work on later today, and that'll complete this. And that's one of 2 banners for my mother's room. All I do is quilt. All I do is quilt, but I love it, and you know that. So, speaking of quilting, sewing classes, well, that was one of the sewing classes I've taken. I'm finished. There's still, I think, 2 more classes, counting tomorrow and the week after for that one. But that's the class that I've sort of doubled up. I take that class in the morning, and I take another class in the afternoon. Actually, I take the flying geese class in the morning. I take that one in the afternoon. So I'm there all day anyways. So I'm a little bit behind on my flying geese quilt, so I'll just use the time to catch up with that. So that's fine, because I forgot to turn off this volume on my computer. I find it very social anyways, and I enjoy being there. So yeah, I'll make it sort of a mini retreat on the next couple of Tuesdays. So that's what I've been up to there. And also, I'm taking a class on Sundays now. We just started our first class, and it's to make something that looks like this. This is called a giant dahlia. And this is actually going to be a tablecloth, as you could make it into a quilt, as they show you down here in this little picture as well. But I'm just sticking to a tablecloth, so it'll look like this. And the reason I'm taking that class, I think I mentioned it last week, is because one, it teaches me some new things that are outside of my comfort zone, like using templates to cut out the pieces. And two, I've heard that the teacher of this class is very, very good. So I had the first class, and I'll talk more about that a little. Oh, now I might as well talk about it now. What the heck? So I went on Sunday, and I read the instructions for this, and whoa, I thought I may have bitten off more than I can chew. But that's why you take the class. Actually, I've learned I don't think it's going to be that difficult. I was shown how to use the templates and told what I have to do for next week's class. The first class didn't involve any sewing. We were just starting to cut out our pieces. And in total, there's about, I think, 10 colors in this, 11 colors that go around to make this. And you need 16 pieces of each color, and they get progressively bigger. And that's why you have all these templates. Was not a cheap pattern and template set. It was about $75. In fact, that was a bit of a bargain, because I saw it on Amazon.ca and they wanted $90 for the same thing. So, like I said, the prices at Ultimate Sewing, my local quilt shop, are excellent. So if you're in the area, check it out. A little plug for them. So I learned that this isn't that scary, and Cleo, who's the teacher of this class, so far I'm very impressed with her organization, and which is very key to me, and way she explained things, and just the general atmosphere she creates as she teaches. It's very relaxing and non-threatening, which is great, because you can get some teachers that basically intimidate you, and Cleo just works along beside you like a friend. So that's great. So I'm enjoying that class, and I have to get my pieces cut out this week and be there next Sunday, and then we start the sewing process. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, so speaking of, okay, I got to turn that off, and I will in a minute. But in the meantime, why don't you watch this YouTube channel of this week's YouTube channel is called Create with Claudia, Quilting and Craft Projects. And just as it says, Claudia does a lot of quilting that's at both the beginner level and at the advanced level. She shares a lot of very useful tips and tricks that quilters at all levels will appreciate. She also looks at some other crafts as well. So there's something here for everyone. And so if you're looking for some inspiration, if you're looking for some help with your creative projects, check out Create with Claudia. Okay, so the link is below for the YouTube channel of the week. There's a link for Stephen and Walter Live, as there always is. And we had a really good discussion this Sunday about the differences between homeschooling, private schooling, and public schooling. We actually had our first trolls. We have never had trolls before. Come on, Stephen and Walter Live. And I'll have to say that I was a little confused as to how to block them. Now, I know you can block them, but we're watching ourselves as we do the live on our iPads, and the iPads didn't have a block. They had a hide a user, which I don't know if that's the same kind of thing or what. So I'll have to investigate today what I need to do on an iPad to actually physically block. But some of our regular viewers of our live did some blocking for me, which was great. And I know you can set up a moderator, someone who can do the blocking. And I didn't just want to put that pressure on somebody. It makes them feel like they're obligated to always have to come in and watch the live. So I'll see if there's a way I can do it. But yeah, one character had a fake name. Well, they always have fake names. Wanted me to read it out loud. Wasn't falling for that old trip. Let's just say if I had, it would have been questionable, the terminology in the name, you know. And they just, you know, the best thing to do is ignore those people. Obviously, there are people out there that have too much time on their hands, you know, that just want to troll other people's lives. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. But anyways, we got rid of them, and it certainly didn't interrupt our flow of conversation, which I thought it was a good one. So you might want to check it out if you didn't catch us on the live. Check out the rebroadcast. I've got the link for some new things that I have bought that I'm going to talk about shortly, and the book of the week is there as well. You will notice I don't, well, you may or may not notice, there isn't a link to my blog because, one, I don't bother with it much, and two, neither does anybody else. So why use up space? I just got rid of that. Okay, so what's pissing me off this week? Well, okay, continuation of what I talked about last week about disease and the coronavirus and all that stuff. I'll have to say I'm getting a little worried about this whole coronavirus, not from the standpoint of view of catching it, more or less how it's going to affect our river cruise that we are scheduled to go on in May, the middle of May. Now, that river cruise is from Amsterdam to Budapest. We're not going to China, okay, as if you could right now, and you can't. But this is a very expensive cruise. The total cost of this cruise for the two of us is $19,000. And we've already paid $3,000 down on that as a non-refundable deposit. So now we have the dilemma that later this week or next week, our final payment is due. So the rest of the money, so $16,000 basically. And that's a fair chunk of change happening there. So we have the option, we could cancel, because we don't know. This coronavirus thing seems to be spreading. It seems to be affecting cruises. Now we're going on a river cruise, not an ocean cruise, but it's still a cruise. And if we cancel it now, we lose $3,000, period. If we go ahead and pay, and even though we'll have cancellation insurance, if we decide when we get towards May that things aren't looking any better and we cancel the cruise then, there is a very good possibility that the cruise line will not give us back our money, that we may be out $19,000. So here's the dilemma. What do you do? You can hope that this coronavirus thing will have finished up, cleared up, whatever. Control has been taken over it by May, because that's still a few months away, right? On the other hand, every day you watch the news and there's more cases of coronavirus. Now, mind you, most of them have been isolated to China. And now the world is isolating China. You can't get in, you can't get out, kind of a thing. But there are some cruise ships that are out there floating around that have been quarantined because, especially the Diamond Princess, that's the most famous one right now for this, since they picked up 800 people in Hong Kong, even when they knew that the virus was there, had broken out in the whole bit, and now nobody is letting them in to any of their ports. Now, I don't think, from what I've been listening to, that there have been any cases of coronavirus on the Diamond Princess, but nevertheless, they're out there. Nobody wants to let them come into port because they picked up people from Hong Kong. There is another ship out there that is quarantined and has been, and their 2 weeks of quarantine is almost up, except they've had some new cases break out, and so they start the clock, from what I understand, all over again. So these people, I really feel for these people because, cruise ships are a lot of fun in the whole bit. But when you go on a cruise, you do not probably have a huge room. Like most people have a stateroom. We always get a room with a balcony, thank God, because if I was on that ship and had an inside room, which doesn't have any windows, no balcony, they're tiny little things, I'm a claustrophobic, and there's no way I'd be clawing my way off that ship, no matter what. I would go crazy. They'd have to sedate me. I mean, it's simple as that. But we would never have an inside room. So we would have a balcony. But nevertheless, they're confined to their cabins from what I've been watching. And I watch a lot of videos that, and I think next week I will actually do a YouTube review of 3 that I watch the most about cruising. And according to those YouTube channels, these people are confined to their stateroom. They bring them 3 meals a day. There's no alcohol, there's no entertainment. All the things you expect on a cruise ship have been shut right down. They get an hour every so often, and not necessarily, every day, where they can go up to the main deck, to the top deck, and walk around for an hour to get some fresh air. And that's it. And I saw on the news they've interviewed a few people that are on these ships. And, for the most part, the people they've interviewed are, being understanding about the situation, the whole bit. But they gave them a date as to when they would, I think it was the 19th or something like that of February, when they would be out of quarantine. Well, they've had some new cases. And from what some of these YouTube channels have said, their 2 weeks of quarantine are set again at the date of the new cases. These people could be on this ship forever. How are they coping? I mean, some people might say, great, an extended holiday. Not really. Some of these people probably had to get back to work. Many of these people have family that are anxious about them. They're away from their home. They're stuck. Really, what are you doing for laundry? You'd only bring enough clothes for the length of time you're going to be on the cruise. Yes, they have laundry facilities on the ship, so maybe the ships are arranging for them to have laundry done or something. They did talk about people on prescriptions, and if the prescriptions are running out, well, according to the ship that has the quarantine, I think it's a Princess ship. Is that the Diamond Princess? Yeah, I think that's the Diamond Princess that's got the quarantine that I mentioned earlier. I think it's a Holland American ship that's floating around that picked up the 800 people from Hong Kong. They are providing the refills and everything free of charge for the prescriptions. And, on a cruise, especially a cruise that went to China, that kind of thing, those cruises are very expensive, and they usually attract an older crowd. So, there's a lot of medication you're talking about. And these people come from all places around the world. So, wow, the logistics of getting their prescriptions, I don't know how that works at all. But things like that you don't think about when you're going off on a holiday. So I really feel for those people, and I hope it's over for them very, very soon. But back to what's pissing me off is basically all of the different news stories that are coming out. None of them paint a positive picture of this, but you also don't know whether it is as negative as you're being told, because the news likes to sensationalize everything. I mean, I mentioned last week, they use words like apocalyptic, pandemic, thousands quarantine, every day the count seems to go up on deaths in China. Things they're not telling you about those deaths in China are these people elderly? Are these people that already have compromised immune systems? Are they small children? They're not telling you, they're not breaking it down and saying that, the majority or a certain percentage of these are people who already have major health problems. Okay? So you don't know. They're just painting the picture that this is a death sentence. And then what's pissing me off is, what do you do about a trip? The cruise lines want your money. They are not going to just say, oh, okay, you've got a cruise plan 4 months down the line. Yeah, we're going to cancel that. No, they're not doing that. They're waiting to probably almost the last minute. And even then, will they cancel? If you're on a cruise, like us, going from Amsterdam to Budapest, if they don't actually have any cases on their cruise line of coronavirus or in the area you're traveling in at that time, are they going to cancel it? See, if they cancel it, well, no guarantees. Will they give me back my money, or will they give me a certain portion of my money back, or will they use that as a credit for a future cruise? You don't know. So there's where we're at. And that's what pisses me off, is the uncertainty of things. It's a lot of money. A lot of money. You know how much fabric $19,000 would buy? Just saying. So I think we've made up our mind, and our mind is this. We're going to take our chances, we're going to pay our money, and handle things as they come. We will have cancellation insurance. However, cancellation insurance may not actually cover this. Because, insurance companies love to take your money. They don't like to pay any of it out. So I don't know what's going to happen. And it's the uncertainty that's pissing me off. So stay tuned. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about something a little bit more fun. Let's talk about home decor ideas. And here's my idea this week for spicing up an area of your home that oftentimes you never pay any attention to.
This week's DIY home decor tip is for your ceiling. Yes, for your ceiling. A lot of times you have nothing on your ceiling except ceiling. Why not dress it up with mobiles? Yes, mobiles. Mobiles can be very simple. They can be very complex. They can just be something you created and you have no other place to put it, so you thought, I'd stick it on the ceiling. Yes, and when the breeze hits it, they will spin and keep you amused for hours. So if you want to look up and see something exciting, why not hang stuff by threads from your ceiling? Mobiles. Who would have thought?
Okay, am I just being stupid? Probably, but I get a kick out of doing them. Okay, moving on. Product review. So I did get a few new things. Now, one of the new things I got was this, a laser level. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you this effectively on here, but I'm going to try. I'm going to open it up. A laser level, you say. Are you building cabinetry or something like that? Oops. Well, bomb dropped out of that. Sorry about the noise. This is a laser level, and this is what it does. Don't look into the light. I don't know how I can. Oh, got it wrong way. Okay. Let's see if I shine it up here. You see, there is a. This is difficult to show you. I don't want to shine it into the camera. See if my hand. Oh, wait. How about on me? Okay, well, you can see there's a red line there, and there's another red line over here, and the two of them make a right angle, okay? It's best I can show you. So the idea is it's for squaring something up. So you put the item in here, like the corner of it, line it up with the corner of something. You get a beam going this way, you get a beam going this way, you got a right angle, and you can square up things. So why do I have it? Because I'm going to square up my quilts with it. At least I'm going to try. I saw this on a YouTube video by a woman that lives in Toronto, Karen Brown. Just Do It Quilts is her YouTube channel. She came and she spoke to us at our guild a few weeks ago, and she was showing some of her useful tools, and one of them was this, for squaring up her quilts. And I thought, well, that's kind of brilliant. So I haven't tried it yet, but I will, because I just got it. It wasn't expensive. I think it was $23 on Amazon.ca, and I think it was on Prime, so I got free shipping on it. And I figured, what the heck? If I don't use it for quilts, it may come in handy for other things in the house. So look in your workshop for things to help you in your sewing room. And then I bought this. Now, how often I'll use it, I don't know, but it's pretty. You know, it's not fabric. One of the ladies at my art journaling group showed me this. It is a dip pen, and it's glass. It is pretty. Look at that. And basically, you dip it into your ink, and away you go, and you write, like a fountain pen. Now, I have a lot of problem with nib fountain pens. I never can master them. I get a big blot. So I tried this. I tried hers out at my art journaling class, and it works really well. And no real blobbing and that kind of thing. And easy to clean and whatnot. Not expensive, $12 on Amazon.ca. And so I picked one up. Now I have not yet used it, but I'm going to. It even came with this cute little couple of little bumps. They look like, well, I'm not going to tell you what they look like, but basically that's just a stand. It sits on your table like that, and you just lay your pen when you're using it across that way, so you don't have ink on everything. So I just thought it was kind of cute. Came in a nice little box. Oh look, it's made in China. Oops. Disinfected? No, that's not nice to say, but you do think those things, sometimes. Just saying. So anyways, I got that. And then somebody else was showing these albums, and they're by Graphic 45. Now, I may have seen them in the past. They're a blank album. But the construction of them is really, really good. And it has these like tags in pockets. And I believe there's parts in they open up so you can stick stuff. It's awkward to show you, but trust me. So in there, and I thought, well, yeah, this is kind of nice. Now, I was telling you that I might be making, I'm working on a grimoire, which I haven't done anything more on since the last time I spoke to you about it. I was making that out of an old agenda book, but I'm now thinking I might make this into the grimoire. Now, I don't know. It may sit on my shelf for a long time and I'll never get to it. But one of the ladies that was showing this to us, she took a class in decorating it. And it cost her about $85 for the class, and it included this album. But if you wanted to just buy the album, they were charging at a craft store $45 for it. On Amazon, they were charging $23. So I picked one up. Did a little Amazon shopping. So anyways, that's the new things that I have this week to show you. So that takes us to book reviews. Speaking of making grimoires or albums and journals, 500 handmade books. And all this is not an instruction manual. It is basically a picture book of what people have done. And I've got it for inspiration. All kinds of different types of books. Well, 500 of them to say the least. That's what the book's called. And it's just great for ideas and things like that. Inspiration. It's very nice to look through. And I've had this for a while. In fact, this is volume 2. I do have volume 1. I'll probably review that later down the road. I'm kind of out of order here on this. I probably should have done volume 1 and then did volume 2, but they're both about the same. Now, was this an expensive book? Well, Canadian, it was $26.95 when I bought it. Not bad. I did find it on Amazon.ca. And what was the price? Yeah, not so cheap there. This is a warning. You need to check your prices on Amazon. Be careful about it because not everything on Amazon is a bargain. This book on Amazon is $48.73 and there's shipping. And I'm not sure how much the shipping is. So, well over $50 for this book. So it's a major investment. If you can pick it up somewhere else, you might find it in a bookstore somewhere, who knows, for less than that. But just be warned, watch your prices on Amazon. So that's the book of the week. And the author of this book is Julie Chen, Chen. And I'll have a link to it in the show notes. Now, just a thing about the links, my Amazon links. So I was trying to be an affiliate, okay? A few months ago, I applied for that, got it set up, and so I have put links for anything that I've bought off from Amazon there. And I'm no longer an affiliate. Why would that be? Because they canceled me. Because to date, no one has used any of my links to buy anything. Simple as that. And that's okay. I just tried it as an experiment. And of course, I guess the things that I'm showing, people aren't that interested in buying or whatever. And again, that's fine. I just thought I'd give it a shot. Okay, so that takes us to a work in progress. Now, I thought last week I had finished all the iCraft albums. So when I was going through all of them, I discovered one kit that I had not done yet. And it's this one, the Photo Box Scrapbook. So I'm not done yet. This week, part 1, how to assemble the Photo Box Scrapbook. I had thought that I had covered all the iCraft kits, but I discovered one in my collection that I had not yet done. So I'm going to do this one right now. So for the first part, we're going to look at how to assemble the iCraft Photo Box Scrapbook. And this is what it looks like when it's finished. It says the set contains 5 pieces each of black and craft cardstock, and it can accommodate 15 photos. And on the back we have a diagram showing us the measurements of each piece and some photos of what it looks like or could look like when you are finished. So essentially there's a little mini album on the one inside cover, and there is a photo box on the back side of the cover. Kind of an interesting design. So what's in our kit? Well, it does say that we get 2, one in black, one in craft, and as always I think that's a very good value for $10.99 Canadian. That's what I paid for this at my scrapbook store. And this is the black one. I'm going to be working with the craft one, and it does come, this particular kit, with instructions. So what I like to do with the instructions when they do come with a kit, they usually have a picture of all the pieces and they label them, and I like to get out the pieces and label them as well. I have already done that in advance of the video. So we have base 1, which is this piece right here. Then we have cover 2, and that piece is right here. And frame 3, that's this big piece right here. Just try to get rid of some of that shadow. And then there's a page 4 and a page 5, and that's these 2 pieces here. Now these look very much like the cover 2, but there is one thing that makes this one different from these, and that is an extra score line. So essentially this is the cover of the mini album, and you can see that when you fold along the score lines you get this little spine, whereas on the pages it's just a single fold. So that's easy enough to figure out. So according to, just move these out of our way, according to the next step, it says using frame 3, which is this piece, fold each scored line towards the center to form a box. So I have already done that. I have folded each of the score lines, and I did use a bone folder to make sure they were nice and crisp. And then essentially what you're going to do, and it shows it down here in step 2, says position each corner as shown and glue them together to form a neat corner. The gluing part I'm not sure about yet, but what I did do, I did a little bit of this off camera, and I determined where some of my 2-sided tape could go. This could be glue. So essentially, let's just take the protective paper off each of these. And so this gets folded down and placed right along the side. And I will do a similar thing. So you see I'm just following the score lines. It just sort of folds in on itself, and I've got the tape on the bottom section, and it just lays down, and I'm using the bone folder to put that down. So then each of these just fold upon themselves as well. So you get this little rectangle, you see, and you tuck each one under these corners. Now I just realized something I probably shouldn't do, and that was to tape those pieces down. Is that going to give me a problem? Actually, it doesn't give me a problem. So those tuck into there, and the same with this one. It's just folding in on itself. And then you got to do a little bit of manipulation to tuck it under each of those corners. Now they talked about gluing these corners down, and I'm thinking right now that they will get stuck down when I add some decorative paper all around this, but right now that seems to hold together pretty nicely. So And they show it here. Here all 4 corners have been joined. Okay, flip it over. Now they're doing the folding of the cover page and the pages. So these are the pages, and I have already done my folding of these along the score line and just giving them a good varnishing with the bone folder. And this one I've already folded to and already mentioned this is the spine. So it says adhere all pages is shown to the page which has a 1/4 inch margin. So what I determined from that is that essentially this is our cover page and these go on the inside. Now here's the tricky part. How do I adhere these? Because they don't have a little flap, and they're showing that you just put a little bead of glue. You can see here on the instructions. They're showing they've put a little bead of glue right along the spine of this one. So I guess one gets attached there, and the other one will get attached on the other side. So when this is folded, alright, this is going to be a little trickier because I don't think I can use my double-sided tape for this. So I'm going to get out my trusty Gorilla Glue, and I'm just going to, right along this spine piece, I'm just going to run a line of the Gorilla Glue. And then take each page and just carefully center it, hold it for a second or two, and hopefully the Gorilla Glue will take hold. Don't really like how this is joining. Gorilla Glue usually sets up pretty fast, but it's not really holding. Now I see a potential here to run a little strip of tape. Just let that sit for a second. And I think I'm just going to pause the video for a minute as this sets up, and then I'll be back. Okay, so I let the Gorilla Glue set up, but I wasn't very happy with how secure it was holding the pages. So what I did do is I went inside and I just put a piece of tape down the spine of each join. So it seems to be holding okay that way. So this is one flaw, and I just noticed that part of this has been stuck now. Oops. Glad there's 2 of them here because I just sort of ripped that one a little bit. Yeah, you can see that right here, but I'll be able to cover that up with decorative paper. So it is holding now, but I don't like the way that assembles. I think it would have been better if there had been a little bit of a spine on each of these pages as well, and I think that would give you something to glue it with. So, but you can make it work. Okay, so I've got the frame and I've got the little booklet, and now according to this in step 6 it says paste the box and the pages on the base as shown. So the base does have a spine, as you can see, which is created when you just score or fold the score lines. And they're putting this on this side. I don't think it matters which side you put it on because they're showing this gluing down so it opens up this way. But that means when you open this up, you'll probably be opening it up. I suppose it doesn't matter, but you know, I think I'd rather have this on this side, and I think I'd have the little booklet on this side. So all you do is just glue them down. Now you can see my corners are coming up here. I should have put maybe a little tape down under here. Actually, maybe I could put a little Gorilla Glue. But I don't think I'll bother, because I think it'll hold down once I get some decorative paper along the frame side. So let's just glue this down. Now I'm using this one as the prototype because I can see right now the problem I'm going to have with putting decorative papers on it. I have this space in behind that needs to be covered up, and then the frame, and in here as well. But I do have a second one in black, so I'll use this one just to show how to assemble it, but I will actually put the black one together with my decorative papers on it so that, you know, I don't have to cut little bitty pieces around here. I'll just put a piece down, bang, it covers it, etc. But for now, let's just finish gluing this up. Get out my trusty Gorilla Glue again. And I don't think I need a lot. And then center it. And I'm just eyeballing here. Trying to keep it as straight as possible. Just hold that down for a few seconds so it sets up. Again, you can use whatever glue you happen to have. And I'm going to do the same thing with this little booklet. Now I do notice that my pages are not completely straight, so I may have to do a little bit of fudging around with the folding on this. And again, I'll just use the Gorilla Glue. And eyeball it. And just hold it down for a minute or two. Well, a second or two. And there we have it. And that's not stuck yet. I do find sometimes on the craft cardstock in these kits, it seems to absorb the glue very quickly. Too quick for it to really glue down. But I'm not going to worry too much about that right at the moment. It will stick. It just takes a little bit longer. You might want to put something heavy on top of this as well, just to keep it down while it dries. And that's how it works. Simple as that. Kind of a neat little thing. So, in the next segment, I'm going to work on the decorative papers, and I'll show you what that looks like when we get to that. So next week we'll take a look at putting on the background papers. Okay, so events of the past week. Update on my mother. She's fine, except yesterday I mentioned this on Stephen and Walter Live, so bear with me if you saw that. I'm repeating myself, which happens a lot. She's fine. But the funny thing is, I call her. We go once a week, as you know, and I try to call her. Every time I call her, she never picks up the phone. So yesterday, before we did Stephen and Walter Live, I gave my mother a call, figuring she probably wouldn't pick up the phone. Well, on the third ring, she gets it. What's the first thing comes out of her mouth? Well, I thought you died. Haven't heard from you forever. No, Mother. 4 days ago, we were over to visit you. And I said to her, you know, it would help, Mother, if you would pick up the phone and answer it, because who else is calling you? It's me. Oh, I suppose. I said, you know, Mom, how do you expect me to get in contact with you? Do you expect me to do it by telepathy? But anyways, she's fine. But I said to her, so how are you feeling? Because there about a week or so ago, a couple of weeks ago now, she had a bit of a low-grade temperature, but when we went over to see her last week, she was fine. That was a one-day thing and everything was okay. So that's great. Well, no, I haven't been feeling that well. All right. Why, Mom? So now I have to do diagnostics because she doesn't give any details. I said, well, what's the problem? Well, I don't know. Okay, here we go, working in a vacuum. So I said to her, well, does your head hurt? No. Is your body aching? No. Are you having trouble Sleeping? No. Are you feeling sort of tired? Well, yeah. Well, Mom, you're probably feeling tired because you don't do anything. You know, if you're just sitting all day in your wheelchair staring at the boob tube, and even now, most of the time she's staring at the screen that tells you it's like who the provider is, because, well, she doesn't know. You know, she has trouble with the remote control. I don't know. So anyway, I said, well, you know, Mom, if you did a few things. Well, I suppose. That's the answer I get. Well, I suppose. They have lots of activities there. Every day it's packed with things for them to do. And they will take them to wherever they want to go to do these things as well. There's a schedule, a calendar for a whole month. They have it. I got my mother a small bulletin board, magnetic bulletin board. I put it up in her room and I post that monthly calendar there for her. It's right at eye level, right next to her. She can't miss it. But nevertheless, she doesn't bother. So yeah, you're going to feel tired if you do nothing all day. Walter said maybe she's feeling a little depressed. Well, yeah, I think she probably is. And she is on a medication for that, just a mild one, but she's been like that for quite a while, ever since my father passed away 6 years ago. I get it, but really, it's her life. I can only do so much. And if she's not going to respond to those efforts, if she's not going to help herself, then what more can I do? Then sit there and be bored. Simple as that. Hate to say it, but yeah, that's the reality of it. It's always very cheery when I call my mother. It puts me into a state of depression as well. I'll get over it. So moving on. So I talked already about the giant dahlia class. So that was a big event in the weekend. Well, that's about all that's been going on. I've been working on these quilts and working on some other little, crafty projects. Yeah, nothing too exciting. We're getting closer to when the quilting retreat, sewing retreat happens, and I'm looking forward to that, but that doesn't happen until the first week in March, but we're getting there. We're getting closer. February is a short month. Why does it, when a month is a short month, feel longer than all the other months? I guess this year too, February is it's a leap year, isn't it? So I guess we have 29 instead of 28 days in February this year. But anyways, that's all that's been coming up, and not like I'm bored. Nope, definitely not bored. Lots of projects to work on. And lots of things to do. These are just normal everyday things that I'm talking about. Nothing really stands out as real excitement. Oh yes, I guess Valentine's Day comes up, Friday? Saturday? What's today? The 10th? 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th. Yeah, Friday. Yeah, well, wow. We don't do Valentine's Day. It is one of the stupidest events on the calendar. I swear that Valentine's Day was created by card companies just to sell cards, and flower companies. It's just another money grab kind of holiday. It's a way for women to make men feel really guilty if they don't get them something nice too. So there you go. So I'm not a woman. I don't have a woman in my life. I don't feel guilty. So there we are. Oh, I'll probably get backlash on that, won't I? So, yeah, what's coming up? Nothing, except that. Okay, so I think that's enough for today. So you have a good week. Stephen and Walter live, 4 o'clock this coming Sunday. Not sure what the topic is this week. Haven't picked it yet. If you have suggestions, send me an email, drop me a comment, and we'll consider it. And we hope to see you then. And I will see you next week. Bye-bye.